Hello and welcome back, incredible listeners, to season 3 of Third Eye Talks. And today we have our very first guest of the season, and I couldn't be happier about who this is. And so I want to go ahead and introduce our very first guest. Her name is Aya Ghosh. She is joining us from Switzerland, and Aya is a consciousness coach who is just going to take us through some incredible information today. Hi, Aya.
Hi, Nat. So lovely to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. This is going to be a great chat. Um, so to start us off, tell me a little bit about how you became a consciousness coach. How did you land upon this? And maybe even like what were you doing before this and
Yes.
that transition?
So I was working in the area of finance in Switzerland before becoming a full-time consciousness coach. And I just had a very tough meltdown when the COVID started because I'm originally from Japan and I live by myself in Switzerland. So the lockdown was really isolating. And I just had to do something about it. And I thought like, all right, like I will learn something that's going to help me out. And that's when I came across transformational neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. And after that, I also learned how to read Akashic Records. And now I combine the two. And it's so gratifying and fulfilling.
I can only imagine. I love that transition. And I love having guests on the show who come from really traditional industries and backgrounds, and then they go into this beautiful spiritual work. So congratulations to you for making that transition and having that sort of awakening. I think it's
Thank
beautiful what
you.
you do. Aya was kind enough and so kind to offer an Akashic Records reading for me prior to shooting the podcast, just to give me an idea, because I'd never had one. I had never done an Akashic Records reading. And so she invited me to experience that in order to be able to talk about it a little bit more openly today. And so I want us to jump in and talk and have that conversation. It was a wonderful experience for me. I didn't think that it would make me so emotional. And since we've had that reading, we spoke a lot about my throat chakra
Mm-hmm.
and a lot about like blockages in the throat chakra, which I know they're there, but I have felt so much relief, I have to say. So much relief. And remember how we spoke about like the weight
Yes.
on my shoulders? I've just felt so much better. So I just want to say thank you for that upfront. And then talk a little bit for the listeners who don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about what exactly are the Akashic Records.
Yes. So Akashic records are holographic records of everything that happened in the past, everything that is at the present moment, and all the possibilities we have in the future. And there's a record for everything, for the earth, for the cosmos, for the universe. And of course, because we are very important parts of this universe and on this planet, there are records for each one of us. And what I do is basically open the records for my clients. And it's a beautiful way to connect with your spirit guides and kind of help everybody connect with their guides, connect with their souls, and get some healing and guidance from the
It
higher
is,
self.
it is beautiful. It was really a beautiful experience. So once let's say we decide to work with you or
Mm-hmm.
someone who opens those Akashic Records, do we need that guidance, or and are we all going to find something there, or are the Akashic Records like is it exclusive for some people? Is it for everybody? And can we open them ourselves? Is there a way to do that ourselves?
Yes, that's a gorgeous question. And first of all, there are records for everybody. So each one of you have your own records.
Good.
And you can open your records by yourself. I open my records by myself as well.
Mhm.
However, there's a limitation around how much you can do with your own records. I see this as being like a lighthouse. The lighthouse can be very good at seeing what's far ahead, but not right underneath oneself. And
Mhm.
so sometimes we're a little bit too close to do like the full healing, full guidance on all of the four selves. However, there's a lot of information you can get for yourself by yourself from your guides. And I find that my intuition is a little bit higher when my records are open.
Mhm. Mm.
And I feel like there is something for everybody in the Akashic Records, especially if you feel curious or ready to open it. I
So
think if
how
you don't feel like it's for you,
yeah.
maybe it's just not for you, and that's also fine.
So how do we do that? How exactly do we start that process? How do we open those records ourselves?
That's a gorgeous question. And there are many ways of opening the records, but the way I use is same for my clients and for myself, which is to say a short opening prayer. And it just opens.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I absolutely recommend having somebody else do this for you. Let me be
Hmm.
clear. And I say that because it's just like astrology or any other
Yes.
spiritual method or methodology where when you're doing it for yourself, you're limited to how much
Yes.
you can find, right? So you'll speak to astrologers all the time who can very clearly see a lot of things about a person when they see someone else's natal chart, but
Yes.
it's harder to process your own and to really see that big picture. So I definitely recommend always having someone else do these things for you. It's also a way to treat yourself.
Totally agree.
And and you do a combination, which I thought was so beautiful, which is where you combine those Akashic records with neurolinguistic programming.
Yes.
You're listening for cues in what the person is saying and vocalizing, and then you combine that with what you find in the records. How are those two a much more powerful combination than just
Hmm.
one alone? Can you tell us that? And maybe
Of course.
explain what is neurolinguistic programming for some
Yes.
listeners or viewers who may not know.
Yes. So neuro-linguistic programming is basically how each one of your brain is wired. And this is basically about your beliefs. So we all have useful beliefs and the limiting beliefs that's not really working out for us. And all of these beliefs usually comes from our own life, what happened to us when we were children, basically. And why we want to kind of look at our limiting beliefs and shift them is that all of those limiting beliefs actually like had positive intentions and they used to be very useful for us. But the thing is, the environment we're in right now and who we are right now, it's very different from what we had in our childhood. So a lot of those beliefs get outdated. So NLP is a really, really good way to review your own personal history and change the beliefs you formed because of that. Whereas Akashic Records is a little bit more, have greater access to something outside of your life, something like your ancestors or your past life, or just like some kind of energy or sometimes disturbing entities. And
Mhm.
these two different things stabilize each other. So my experience being an NLP client, because that's where I started, was that NLP was so useful and it changed a lot of my experiences. But there were some experiences that just didn't change, no matter how much I did NLP. And these experiences basically did not originate in my own lifetime, and therefore it was so much useful to like access the Akashic records, and these things is like layer like this and they stabilize each other. So that's why I find this combination to be helpful.
That is so interesting. So the language really is talking about your experiences in the past. But if you really want
Mm-hmm.
more of that divine knowledge that only your guides can really give to you, then you open up the
Yes.
records, and that combination really
Mm-hmm.
creates the change. Okay, I love that. I love that. And I love how you use that and combine it. And so, okay, you say the opening prayer to open the Akashic records for, let's say, for yourself as a
Mm-hmm.
beginner. What what can you expect to find? Like, how do you know that you have opened them? Let's talk about that. How do you know you've opened your records?
Lovely. I think you opened your records because you have a little bit of different feeling. I often yawn when I open records, and that's because I'm kind of settling into a different dimension of the reality. And everybody, each individual has different feelings or different signs that they get when they open their own records or somebody else's records. And what's also really nice is as I open the records, I always check in with my own guides or my clients' guides if they have any message as we open it, and you'll get something. And that's how you know, like, wow,
I'm
it's
in.
working.
I'm in. Okay, so once you're in, is there a specific question that you should ask, or do you just tune into your intuition
Mhm.
and see what comes up?
That's a beautiful question. And actually, you can ask any question from your heart. So there aren't any like questions that are right for you or not right for you. However, there are questions that are usually not in order to ask. So, for example, when I'm in my own records, it's in order for me to ask anything about myself, but it's usually not in order for me to ask, like, what's going on with my mother or like anything to do with other persons, because that sort of disrespects the boundary and yeah, different
Yeah.
individuality.
So you want to make sure it's an individual question and that you're not
Yes.
prying into somebody else's records because you
Yeah.
haven't asked them permission.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you probably don't get answer even if you
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, perfect. And so once we're in and we ask the questions, how do we close it? How do we close that book? Because I'm assuming there's
Mm-hmm.
from our session, there is a way that you close it. How do we close the records? And
So
what
what I like,
after?
mhm,
And what can we expect after?
yes, what I like doing is basically to say a closing prayer and just like shake my body a little bit
Mhm,
afterwards to come back to this reality.
mhm,
And you can just, you know, expect that your guides are always supporting you, even when the records are closed. And what you can also expect is that it's like gardening. The relationship you have with your own records is something that you cultivate over time. So when I first accessed my own records, I couldn't get too much, but now after some time, I can get more and more by myself. So it's something that you can develop throughout your life as well.
So what kind of changes, let's say we get really excited about this and we want to work with you and we want to open our records. What sort of changes can we expect over time? Is there a number of times that we should open the records? Or is that different for different people? And what are the sorts of changes that we can expect to happen in our lives based on that?
Oh, thank you. So I think you can open your records as often as you would like and just follow your intuition. But, it's usually not normal to like open it like 10, 20 times a day. That, verging a little bit on like addiction or like too much dependency on the guys. You do want to keep your own sovereignty. So just, follow your intuition. And the changes you can expect in your life really varies. And you can really expect or like hopefully like some of your stuck experiences will dissolve, but it also depends on like how much you're ready for it and all of that. And some of the topics that I've worked myself is like, one is that I somehow felt really like incapable of feeling gratitude from my heart.
Mhm.
And also I asked my guides, like, can you please help me with that? And they cleared some stuck energy and the change is just instant. I was like, wow. And I really felt the feeling of gratitude growing inside me.
Mhm.
Another topic that I worked on was I had a heel injury that didn't heal since I was something like 14. And now I'm in my late 30s. And there was just no reason why it didn't heal. It was a minor injury. And I also noticed I have consistently had injury like along my right leg. So I worked on that through the Akashic Records. And this was not just a clearing, it actually involved including some of the ancestral aspects, but that also actually like healed. And for the first time in 20 some years, I could like put my full weight on my right foot.
Wow.
Yeah, but you know, it's really, really individual.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So is there a time or a maybe a place you are in life where you should not open your Akashic records?
I don't think there's any time where you shouldn't,
Mhm.
but I don't think you should be forced into opening it by somebody else.
Okay.
Just follow your heart.
Okay. Perfect. And then have you ever had anyone who had a negative experience or something that came through really strongly for them in a reading? Does that ever happen? Or is the information, because it's coming from your guides and coming from your ancestors, does it always present gently?
Thank you for the question. And it's a little bit like astrology, you know, like astrological reading you get really depends on who is reading it, right? So you do select your astrologer quite carefully. And I do have an experience as a client when somebody else opened my Akashic Records that the experience was like, I wouldn't say negative, but like quite mixed. And what happened there was a lot of the stuck energy got cleared. But like for one thing, I think the energy clearing was a little bit too much, like a lot more than my like personal beliefs can handle.
Mhm.
And you know, like information from the guides come from a different higher reality. And some people are really good at explaining that in like usual daily terms, and other people are not. And I had some readings for myself by other people where I felt like the explanation is not sufficiently understandable in my language. And
Mhm.
that, yeah, that's a little bit dissatisfying, but I'm
Yeah.
still grateful.
So it's not like you should be scared that you're gonna find something that is bad for you or negative. It's more like make sure that you feel good and comfortable in the presence of the person who's opening those records for you so that you
Mm-hmm.
gently adapt to that read.
Yes.
All right? Okay.
And just, you know, follow your heart in terms of choosing who's reading this for you.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
also, like, there is no good and bad. Information is always neutral. And
Mhm.
you can discover some information around pain or like some kind of hardship when you open the records, but that just means you're ready to include it, you're ready to heal. So
Mhm.
it can appear bad, but not really.
Yeah. I love that. I think when during our session it felt very gentle, but it did clear a lot of stuff. And I thought that that was just fantastic. So I have to say, I recommend this to anybody who is listening in. If you just give it a try, again, make sure you find someone. And Aya is very comforting, and her words, and she's very gentle and soft in the way that she speaks and presents the information. So I would definitely advise you to try it and give it a try and see what comes forward. Now, last question on this, because I know we're running out of time and I want to know where we can find you. I mean, I know, but I want the listeners to be able to find you. So uh can we expect to find just spirit guides in the Akashic records, or are we also getting information from our ancestors,
Mm-hmm.
our loved ones who have passed away? Who's
Mm-hmm.
really giving us the information in this Akashic records when we open them? Is it the divine? Is it, for some people, is it God? Who's really there, or what is the energy that's really there that we get access to?
Thank you. So the way I see it is that your guys are sort of like translating the records for you. So the information is just there, right? And
Mm,
that your guys will guide us and indicate what are the relevant information for us to access right now. And there are information about all of our ancestors, all our past lives, like everything is there. But when you open the records, it's not like I would know everything about your past or everything about your ancestor or anything. the guides will like highlight to us the most relevant information that's useful. And that includes information about ancestors, information about past lives, information even about where your soul came from, like really out in the universe.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. What would you say to someone, last piece of advice, what would you say to someone who might be scared to access this information? What advice would you give to them?
Wow. I first of all really want to include the sense of being scared. It was also scary for me to open Akashic Records, but it's really, really nice to go just a little bit outside of the comfort zone.
Mhm.
So if you feel curious, even though you're a little bit afraid, just take a big breath and like allow your neurology to settle. And if you do want to like try accessing it, no, just go for it.
I love that. Feel a little bit trepidatious, but try it. Try it and
Yes.
try. I like that. I
And
like
also
that advice
the,
in general.
yes, feeling around or like the background why it feels scary or uncomfortable to open your Akashic Records is a gorgeous question to ask your guys.
That's I like that. Yes, as a first session, why am I scared to do this? To
Yes.
begin with. I love that. I love that. Okay, so Aya, where do we find you? How can we work with you if we want to start this journey of opening the records and combining them with your beautiful talent of neurolinguistic programming or reprogramming? How do we
Thank you. Well, first of all, I would be really blessed to open your records. And you can find me on my website. It's aya transformation.com, or send me an email to ayatransformation@gmail.com.
Mhm.
And I offer readings online, so you can be anywhere in the world, and all of this is quite quantum, so it works. And yeah, I would so love to see you. And I also offer clarity calls. So if you just want to ask questions about it, feel
Mhm.
free. And I would really love to share with you a little bit more of a general overview and how it might be specifically useful for you.
Thank you so much for joining us on Third Eye Talks. Thank you so much for what you're doing in the world and what you are helping others to do. Thank you very much for your service, your spiritual service. We're lucky to have you on Third Eye Talks, and thank you for the information you shared today. I am so grateful for the session that you offered me. It really did help me tremendously. So listeners, viewers, go out, reach out, go to Aya's website, have that clarity call. And as she said, if you're scared or if you feel a little bit trepidatious in any way, start there. Maybe reach out to Aya and say, hey, I want to know why it scares me a little bit to do this. And go forward and see where this takes you. I can tell you from personal experience that it is wonderful. It is a beautiful tool for just opening up and having a conversation and clearing energy. So if it calls to you and you felt like, yes, I want to try this, I want to speak to my ancestors, I want to see my spirit guides and what information they have for me, then go ahead and try this. Reach out to Aya. And of course, as for Third Eye Talks, I will see you next week in another episode. Bye, everyone. Bye, Aya. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nat.
Bye.